Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are featuring this very cool Rado True Square. I've got a little bit of a soft spot for them. I know they're not everyone's cup of tea. I know many people just, don't like anything which isn't the norm. A lot of people have to play safe, and it's got to be a round watch. It's got to have a clean dial, blah blah blah. But I always like watches which are a little bit funky and different. You might have noticed that if you've followed me on my channel. And I have to applaud Rado for doing things that little bit different. Plus, they've gone for the full ceramic treatment on this. Ceramic bracelet, ceramic case, the full works, titanium clasp. They really have gone to town. And then you look at that dial and it's just wow. So much going on, but you can still easily read the time. And that is what makes this kind of stand out a little bit more than many of the other skeleton dials where it is hard to read the time. But before I get too far into the review, I've got to say a massive thank you to First Class Watches over in Kenilworth for allowing me to review this piece. Lots of cool, interesting watches there. Brands you don't always see in many of the other places. Very friendly staff, so I'd recommend if you're in the Midlands area, popping into their Kenilworth branch. If you're a little bit further afield, well, don't worry, I'll leave a link in the description and at the bottom of the page now. All I ask, if you do contact them, please mention the channels. It really would help. So let's talk sizes first. I must point out this watch is also available in white and a few different variations. The white model is completely really funky. I thought I'd play safe and go for the black one. But anyway, this one is 38mm across, thickness of 9.9mm, so it's quite a thin watch. The lug to lug is a little bit long at 48.5, so it wears like quite a, almost a little bit big for a 38mm watch. And the bracelet on this watch is a little bit weird because lug to lug width is 14mm, but the actual bracelet on this is 21mm. The dial, or lack of, should we say, is very cool. It's got so much going on, but it doesn't, I say, detract from the actual reading of the time, because so many skeleton dial watches can look a little bit kind of, you have to take a second glance to actually see what the time is. But because they've gone for these kind of grey hands on here, it really does have a good contrast to the actual all the gubbins below. So I like that. It really does stand out. One thing I do like as well is how they've done the loom marks on these. They've actually cut it out to an angle. Gives it a little bit more of an edgy look. I think it's a little bit, gives it a more modern look. And what's nice as well is the hour markers out here, if you notice, are actual full loom blocks. So even though there's not a lot of it there, they do glow really well. They've got a really good glow to this watch. So, I do like that. Then I like the fact that you've got, the lack of a dial, but you've got some interesting finishes going here. Obviously on this main plate, you have the black there. Then you have this brushed finish going on here. Some of the parts of the movement you can see have been bead blasted, and I'd say they've been brushed first and then bead blasted to give it that kind of darker look. And obviously you can see the shiny screws and the jewels. It's done ever so well. I like the fact that they've only just gone for Rado automatic there and kept things very simple. Obviously it's got its little trademark anchor there. If I turn that around and give it a little nudge, the anchor does rotate. Some say that back in the day it used to be used on the dive watches to give an indication of which way was down if you were underwater, but I think those days are well and truly gone, and now it is just a very cool feature. But the good thing is, I say, with a skeleton dial, you do actually see how the watch actually works. So you can see here, we've got the keyless works. You can see the motion works going on here. So the keyless works, that controls the winding of the watch. It also puts it into handset or date set if there was one. And the motion works are what actually moves the hands around. And here you can see the mainspring is very tight in there. So that means it's actually at full wind. If I wind this, you can even see, I think it's, there it is. That's the tail of the mainspring. So that's then going all the way out to the barrel. And it is, you can see it slipping as it goes round, and that's what stops your watch from overwinding. It's just really quite a nice, how you can actually see these things. Obviously you've got the balance up here, you've got the end stones here These you have to oil quite carefully, and then you've got the pallet fork here, which is actually doing the, is where you can hear the tick, tick, tick coming from, is this hitting the guard pins up there. It's a really nice, kind of a lovely looking dial on this, done very well. So anyway, as we come past that, we have got a flat sapphire crystal. There seems to be AR coating on there. It does do a pretty good job of stopping most reflections, I have to say. And then we come past that and we've got this lovely ceramic case. It is very, very cool. The advantage of ceramic is it's incredibly hard. So if we look at a normal watch, steel is around about 200, St. Vickers, the low end of 200. Then you can get Dyer's Shield, which takes it up to around about 500. And then you can get some of the Damasco ice hardening, takes up to about 800. Then you get the some of the more extreme ones where you get like the Zins, some of the Damascos where like 1200, or the black Zins, which are 1800. And all them sound like pretty intense numbers until you know this one here is 10,000. So in theory, it should be very good at resisting scratches. The only downside there can be with ceramic is if you drop it. Because it is so hard, it can be brittle. So obviously don't go dropping a ceramic watch on the floor, on a hard floor that is. You could be having a very expensive bill if that actually happened. So anyway, the case is very cool. It's got a sign crown. So can I get it to zoom in? There I think it will. Just a sign crown there. It's not a screw down crown. It goes straight into hand wind, but it does feature, I think it was 50 meters water resistant. Now, they don't state that you can actually go dive into 50 meters. In fact, I think they say, and I quote, not an indication of actual diving depths. So it's a theoretical rating. So normally 50 meters means you can probably just get away with it splashing in a pool, washing your car and so forth. I know some people say, oh yeah, I've took my watch, which is 50 meters or 30 meters into the pool or gone swimming with it. But just remember, you won't be covered under warranty, because a lot of these watches like this one, even though they carry a whopping 5-year warranty with them, you're supposed to get the watch checked every year for water resistance. So always be careful of that if you are buying one of these and something like that happens. On the back here, we do have the Rado the R808 movement, which is basically one of the top end kind of H10 movements. So it's a Powermatic 80 movement basically, but this is, I think it's the top spec one. This one, so you do have the proper escape wheel, pallet fork in there and so forth. I put this one on the time grapher and I think it was pulling 0 seconds. I must admit though, the beat rate was a little bit high. So that was a little, I wasn't expecting that. This can be adjusted back here, but it was a little bit high. What's meant by that is the tick and the tock are not synchronized with each other. So it's not a great hardship. It just means when you wind it, sometimes you might have to give it a little shake to get it actually ticking, rather than if it was set perfect, it should start ticking of its own accord. But the way they get the, actually get this longer power reserve of 80 hours is they slow. Obviously, there's a few more things, but the second hand is slowed down quite a bit. So it's beating, I think, at 6 beats per second versus 8. And to indicate that and give you an idea. So if you look at a Rado there, you can almost see its actual kind of ticking. You can see it's jumping that tiny bit. And the watch over here is beating at 8 beats per second. And you can see it looks a lot smoother. Now you can even get 10 beats per second, which is super smooth. Does it really matter? Not really, to be fair. It's something you do get used to. But I normally, if I've got a lower beat rate watch, I normally like when it's actually in a subdial. Or if it's a vintage watch, then I'm not really that worried. Because you don't notice when it's on a small subdial so much. But that's one of the ways they actually get the actual power reserve out of it, is slow this down somewhat. As I say, we have a press fit case back on there. You can see all the movement. It's a lovely, to be fair, it's a nice looking movement. It is based on the ETA 2824 looking at it. So, but it is one of their top ones as it has been polished and you've got Geneva striping, pelaging. So it does look the part. The bracelet on this, as you can see, ceramic does pick up fingerprints somewhat. It's a pin system, and it feels actually really nice. It's kind of ever such a strange feel to it, but it does look the part. We do have a titanium clasp here, so it is a butterfly style. Presses down nicely. You can see Rado written on there. Double click, twin pushes and releases. So let me put it on my wrist, and you've got an idea how it looks. Let's zoom out a little bit here. Quick wrist check. I'm wearing an old Rolex Submariner. One of the very first ones with a date. That one's a single red variant. And Bob has gone all wacky. Bob has gone for a 90s music video kind of watch. And I must admit, I think it's actually really cool. Something different, definitely. Maurice Macquarie watch there. My wrist size is 7¼ inches. That roughly works out to about 18.5 centimeters, and that's it on my wrist. I really like this. I think it's kind of cool and funky. You could almost get people thinking, is it an Apple Watch or smartwatch on there, until they look at it and they go, oh, definitely not. So I think the retail price of this, before any kind of discounts, is $2,850. And to be fair, I think that sounds perfectly fair enough on a watch like this. Real good brand, decent name to it, and the movement may not be my first choice of movement, but there you go. It still looks the part in this watch. Anyway, let me know what you think of it, guys, and most importantly, you'll stay safe out there. Take care. Bye.